I'm Adam Niffen.
And I'm Jeremy Cocaine.
This is Smith Welding Restoration. Nothing to add to that?
Well, it's, that's where we work. That's what we do. We make things pretty.
Alright, so I put the welding helmet on again. I'm going to remind you guys, 1968 Chevelle. We got the chassis straightened out and touched up where it had been undercoated. Got the body set on it. I did get the body set on it, and the bushings and everything in place, and it bolted down square to the frame in relative fashion. I think I'm 16th or 32nd out. Alright, this is what we're dealing with right now. You can see it's all been started. And what I'm running into is shit like this. So I'm going in and I'm driving everything down. I'm going to bring my mallet in action and start pushing this floor around where it needs to be, my big wooden mallet. I put some zip screws in, trying to pull everything down and tight, because when they started this, they had some really big tall welds in places, and the parts were, there we go, the parts are pulling apart. They're not flush, they're not tight, they weren't really zip screwed together. As I understand, the owner started doing the floor, and this was after many a time getting ass fucked by guys in my position, the workmen, like this. That quarter panel over there, the outer wheel arch is on, the quarter panel's on, welded up, looked like bodywork roughed in and primed. Where the fuck is my inner wheel arch? And that was done by a so-called high-end professional. So, yeah, where the fuck does that leave us? I looked around, and the floor, I had concerns that I was going to have to blow out all my welds that were done, cut off welds that were fillet welds together, and just pull it out and start over. We looked at it, I went over and agonized everything, because we got a bunch of spot welds through here, but they're not tight to that brace so much, so I'm pounding everything down, doing what I can to clean up what's here without starting over, because the costs mount astronomically at that point. It'll be in very fair shape when we get done. But I started over here. There's repairs that's going to have to go here too. Our vice and virtue today, or this through, is get this on, get this quarter panel on, inner and outer wheel arch on this side, get that inner wheel arch on, and get the floor pan assembly in. That's what we're charged to do. And then we can hang sheet metal and line some stuff up. But there's a lot more metal work around here. This is what I'm working on now. Floor pan, trunk pan, quarter panel, wheel arches. That's where we're at. That's this part of this job. Floor pan, like up there, it's going to take some work. And a lot of that will actually pull around and come together reasonably. And then there's going to be areas I'm going to actually have to fabricate pieces in the middle to fill those voids. So we'll get to that later. What I've decided at this juncture, because everything's in, it's not moving around, it's essentially tacked down. If I had my druthers, I'd have all these parts in here and zip screwed together, and I could work from the middle and work my way to the sides, pushing it like you would a valve cover gasket or an oil pan gasket. Push everything outwards, nice and tight and flush and level. It's a moot point at this juncture, so I'm going to start over here and I'll work my way over. That's what I intend to do. Let me show you around this project a little bit. You got metal there that's out. The doors were actually chained together. So I don't know what the fuck's going to happen in the roof, but this is all going to have to get fixed. The doors are back there, and they're actually fucked up on the top frame as well. We got all this rust here. This whole piece is, so we're going to try to get a solid car And then we'll start cutting into it more once we decide what direction where the owner wants to go with the rest of it. Firewall's in rough shape. We'll bring her back. We'll do this guy right. Not fucking him in the ass like everybody else has done so far. We're behind as usual. As I should have been on this a month ago. I'm very upset by that. Other things, precedent. Parts. Ooh, focus, baby doll. Parts. So it's kind of floating. You can see that wheel arch is in there. That makes a mess for me. This is what this high-end professional did. I don't know the guy's name. I'm not going to mention the shop that he works for, but they put out very expensive cars, and I've seen them. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by their everyday work. Puppy mill of a situation. So that's where we're at. So you can see we're going to have a long battle ahead of us. I don't know how far we're taking it. We may just take it this first leg, get this metal straightened out. He may come in and be satisfied with where we're at and be satisfied we're not going to try to rob him like every other motherfucker and let us continue on. I don't know. We shall find out as this unfolds. Where I'm at now is floor, trunk pan, quarters, wheel arches. I'll hang the doors and get the doors gapped appropriately after the quarter panel is done. I don't know. We'll see. I'll check back in. I'm going to get back to welding. My machine just cycled over, so she's definitely ready. Back to you guys later. Alright, brace that in. Jack this brace up underneath a 4x4 block on the jack. Started with this brace, push it up. Push this one up. Push this one up. Alright, this side I haven't done anything to. As you can see, that's still raw and open and not attached. Over there, I used a 4x4 block and I jacked up 1, 2, 3 braces. And I spot welded them where they need to be spot welded. Over half our spot welds are useless. They're not actually touching anything. These braces underneath were that far away, you know, almost as thick as my thumb in some spots. Some spots it was less, but the worst was that far away from actually touching the floor pan. So I jacked that floor pan up, I screwed it all down to the bracing, drilled new holes, welded it up. I welded that over there solid through. That I brazed. It's structurally spot welded, and then I brazed that through because I had that rough edge exposed, and welding that solid wasn't my best option. My next course of attack, I got to do that seam right there where the front passenger floor pan meets the rear floor pan, and I'll go ahead and weld that solid up proper after I get everything tapped in place and held down. Alright, so we got that off there. Like I said, I just blew through those. What I'll end up doing is clamping the inner and outer wheel arch clamped together now. They're not staying that way, I'm just checking out the fit. I'll get them in here individually. But these, if you look at the original, you get them together and they actually go inside of that. Now the guy that started over there that I'm cleaning up that fucking mess, the outer wheel arch is butted up against here, and I had to butt the inner wheel arch against inside where it's correct. But they're actually pinched together and then installed, almost like they were installed as a unit. Okay, so moving on, we get over into here. I'm gonna have to blow out, drill out something, get this structure freed up from the outer wheel arch. I'll go along here and find my welds again, and I'll blow those out. I'll probably have to go inside and deal with those in there. In there I'll drill them out so I don't blow through this bracing, this framework. This I'll weld it from this side in when I do this side. or when I do this, because I'll have the inner and outer wheel arch up there and done, and then I'll test fit my quarter panel, make sure it fits right, and I'll rock everything around, move the inner and outer independently from each other. I'll tack them together. If I have the room to, I'll pull them out of the car and weld them together. Then I'll put them up here, clamp them into place, and weld them up. There's a trunk drop off. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at there. We've got all of our floor welded up. I can pull these kick panels out. Let's get some light here, shall we? I gotta get these kick panels out because I don't have it welded from here back, but I got it welded across the firewall. It all pulled together pretty well, all the way across down to right there. Then you've got contours in the floor that aren't in the new floor pan. I got a brace over there. I actually had it welded once and everything pulled, so I got to drill out that weld so it's not impeding me putting it together. Let's show you from the outside. I actually take a porta power. I loosened up the body mounts, but I take a porta power right there, right in here. I take a porta power and get it down in there between that and the frame and push that out and push it into the floor. Now let's look over here. I'll show you the same problem. There we are. So we got a huge issue there. I had it pushed in once. I broke a screw off. I actually drilled a screw into. I actually put a screw into my porta power by accident. And I broke a screw off, and that was the screw that went in my porta power. So this whole brace, when I get in tomorrow, I'm gonna have to knock around and bend a little bit back to shape, more or less. Hopefully more than less. It looks like all this has been pulled out, so if I can get it pushed in, it should come to meet the floor. But I'm gonna have to porta power or hit it real fucking hard right there. So I'll try a porta power to twist this back around where it belongs, because this is all giving me fits through here now. I'll cut the screw off and forget it ever existed on both sides of that brace. Alright, so I got all the way across. I had to jack it up, push it together, screw it, drill holes, all that. And along here, because I've got enough fatigue in the steel, I'll blow holes if I try to MIG weld it continuous. I will braze this. I love the brazing, I love the brazo. You clean it up best you can. And then there's been some, over there was some real deep pitting and embedded rust. Well, brazo burns the rust up. It just poof. So it smells like a dirty diaper for a while, but it works. It burns that, you know. This isn't the suggested method. We're dealing with what we were handed. We're making better what the owner had before. The situation is he got really rammed on this one. So bear with us. Not everything's perfection, you know. It can't be without cutting it all up and starting over. Right there's where I blew out some more spot welds. I'll do the same thing over there. And I can chisel all that steel off of there. But that son of a bitch wasn't in. But the outer wheel arch and the quarter panel were on the car. So riddle me that, people. Wow, made it to the end of the video. Thanks for checking in. Come back on the next one. See what the hell we're up to next time. Subscribe, comment. Find us on over on the old Facebook, Smith Welding Restoration LLC on Facebook. Numbers at the beginning. Have any questions? Call.